It is the
Mhm.
Audible Week 7 Waiver Wire show. Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund, Bloom talking about who you need to add, who you need to get rid of, who you need to hold on to. That's later in the show. But to start things out, we do quarterbacks. Full list available at footballguys.com. We know we do an abbreviated Monday show, but you can get the full list from Sigmund Bloom. Upgrades, downgrades, and waiver wire report available at footballguys.com. We're starting with quarterbacks, as we always do, and we're starting with Drake Maye, playing hero ball out there. But
Right.
hey, hero ball can equal fantasy points, so yeah, go for it.
Yeah, with a defense that's not very good and a quarterback who's willing to test his limits, also a quarterback that's a good runner and athlete. And see, we even saw as the game went on, now it was against a Texans defense that was less interested in the second half when the game was basically over. You saw him starting to iron some things out. Missing on throws earlier that he was hitting later to Demario Douglas, who we'll talk about later in the show, for instance. So I do think that there's a good argument that, hey, maybe Drake Maye is the kind of quarterback who's going to learn on the job. They did give him enough time to watch Jacoby Brissett and be somewhat mentally prepared, emotionally prepared for what he's taking on, and maybe prepared to support some fantasy value as he travels across the pond and faces a Jacksonville defense that made Caleb Williams look like the best quarterback the Bears have ever had. He might be.
Yeah, Drake Maye can knock him out in London, London, London. Let's go to the Tua discussion and
Yeah.
other quarterbacks as well, Bloom. But Tua Tagovaiola out there in a lot of leagues now back on your fantasy team.
Yeah, and you're going to have one more week before he's scheduled to return, and may he return and may he stay on the field. But you are going to see him get back in charge of this offense that we were excited to see him take charge of earlier this year. And the underlying theme here is players coming back from a bye week. You might want to see, as we go through the bye week gauntlet, you might have the luxury of an extra roster spot. So we're going to talk about players coming back off of their bye. Tua Tagovailoa is one of them. A lot of other quarterbacks you could look at. Bo Nix on a Thursday night against the New Orleans defense that is just getting worse and worse. You might be looking for someone to replace Dak Prescott. You might be looking for someone to replace Dak Prescott for more than just his bye week. Or Caleb Williams. Those are the two teams on bye this week. Matthew Stafford also coming back off a bye. Supposed to get Cooper Kupp back this week. Supposed to get Puka Nacua back over the next couple of weeks. Maybe there's something there in the second half of the year. Jameis Winston, Mason Rudolph. These are preemptive ads in your two quarterback superflex leagues. Spencer Rattler, Tyler Huntley should get at least one more start again in those two quarterback superflex leagues. Every starter has value.
Yeah, and value abounds at the running back position where we go down to Tampa. It's not just all about Bucky Irvin. It's
Mm-hmm.
now about Sean Tucker on the recap show. You're happy to shout out Syracuse. Not many
No.
Cuse ball players in the NFL these days, but Sean Tucker there, and Sean Tucker deserving of more.
Yeah, hey, the Q's top 25. See, Q's is back, and you've got Sean Tucker serving the orange well and serving the pewter well for the Bucks. And before Tucker was getting these chunk plays, I think the plan was that they were going to stick with committee with Irving and Tucker. But Tucker showing maybe he could be the more valuable part of that committee. And this is part of waiver wire philosophy. How's this going to work out? Rashod White's injury is not a severe injury. He may be back this week for the game against Baltimore. If he's not back, are you really going to play a committee back against a Baltimore run defense that is maybe the best in the league? And it's also a pass funnel defense. You're going to want to test their pass defense, not the run defense. But I know that since we may go through the whole year and Sean Tucker's total yards will continue to be one of the top 10 performances by a running back. So when that happens, you add the player. Let's see how it works out. I just know that that kind of player should not be on the waiver wire.
And you know what's sad is Rashad White will watch Sean Tucker's performance and be like, now I got to get back out there so I don't lose
Yeah.
my job. But he might get it back out there too soon, which means Tucker will maintain his relevancy
Yeah.
behind or in the next section of running backs, Bloom, and a collection here. But we're all kind of waiting to see more from Blake Corum.
Right.
Let's talk about him.
And Blake Corum, and we talked about him on the couch last week with Alan Seslowski. You're looking for that sneaky backup running back, maybe dropped in a bye week crunch. We saw him actually get on the field ahead of Ronnie Rivers going into the bye. We also see that even though we thought Blake Corum getting drafted was a sign that Sean McVay understood, hey, I shouldn't overwork Kyron Williams. Kyron Williams has missed more time than he has played so far in his career. So what has Sean McVay learned? Not much, apparently, as he was overworking Kyron Williams. And remember, we talked about this in the quarterback section. Matthew Stafford's going to get back Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. So by the time Blake Corum gets a chance to start, and I would love for Kyron Williams to play all 17 games. I don't think it's going to happen. He's not built for that, not for 20-plus touches a game. Now Blake Corum has the keys to a Ferrari in terms of the quality of this offense, not the quality of the offense that we saw Kyron Williams putting up pretty good numbers, which Williams deserves some credit. A lot of other running backs, make sure Tyler Allgeier's not out there. He'd be the number one pickup if he is. Make sure Tyrone Tracy's not out there. Kind of like Sean Tucker, once we see a player can play, how are they going to sort it out? Well, I just know that he should be on a roster. Ty Chandler could start this week, coming off of a bye. We're going to wait and see on Aaron Jones' hip injury. Kimani Vidal, another backup running back on the rise. I would love to see J.K. Dobbins play all 17 games. Giving him 25 carries a game, I don't know, Jim Harbaugh. We've got some potential fill-in running backs, Isaac Guerrero and Patrick Taylor for San Francisco. Jordan Mason's probably not going to play against Kansas City. Watch James Conner. Amari DiMercado and Trey Benson could be what the heck flex plays. We're going to watch the practice reports there. Jacksonville running backs this week against New England. It is a committee, Dearness Johnson and Tank Bigsby. Damian Pierce is back on the scene in deeper leagues with that garbage time touchdown. Houston's running game is back. Jalen Wright coming off a bye as a preemptive ad because that Miami running game has also come back to life. And as we said, Tua is going to be back, so the offense is going to be back soon.
We're back to talking about wide receivers and his two former gas station attendants, Bloom.
Yeah.
Did you have a smock?
No. It was
You didn't wear a
Pronto
smock?
Mart. Pronto Mart was very. See, if you heard some of the lyrics and some of the music that we were playing, and otherwise how we conducted ourselves, let's just say there wasn't a lot of supervision.
Okay, all right. Well, I was proud to wear my 7-Eleven smock. And I'm proud to talk about Demario Douglas. Kind of goes hand in hand, right? We're watching with Drake Maye. Who is his favorite target? Who is he going to? Who is he leaning on? Good old 7-Eleven is one of those guys.
And the Patriots should have pass-heavy game scripts going forward. So as long as Drake Maye can stay healthy and behind that offensive line, that was part of the fear. That's why Jacoby Brissett started a lot of those games to begin the season. But it is Douglas who is his favorite target. And again, you can watch as the game went on, Maye and Douglas got more in sync. Jacksonville's pass defense, I'm going to recommend Douglas as a wide receiver 3 flex this week, and he may stay there going forward as now the Patriots have a quarterback that can take advantage of at least one. Jalen Polk, work to do. Javon Baker, well, let's get him active at least. Kendrick Bourne, not quite back to pre-ACL tear form. Demario Douglas on the rise and should be on a roster.
Should be on your roster. And Romeo, where art thou, Romeo? Well, back on your fantasy team.
Yeah.
Especially after a couple of touchdowns for the Packers on Sunday.
And the Packers continue to be an offense that if someone can play and they're attached to this offense, you want to hold on to this player. Emmanuel Wilson, this also applies to, because Romeo Doubs is a trust, and we hope Christian Watson stays healthy. We hope Tucker Kraft stays healthy. We hope all of the parts of this passing game, Jaden Reed, stay healthy. But you know that Romeo Doubs has a lot of upside because of how Jordan Love is playing, because of how aggressive this pass offense is. So the 1-game suspension is behind him, and now he's back in the good graces of Jordan Love and the Packers and back in consideration for a fantasy roster spot. JuJu Smith-Schuster, just check and see. I know in some leagues he may not have been picked up. He's doing a really good impression of Rashee Rice, Rashod Bateman downfield, and you see the Ravens offense now coming into its ideal form where defenses get them coming and going. You're going to try to stop Derrick Henry. You're going to try to stop Lamar Jackson as a runner. You're going to try to stop the downfield passing game. Good luck. Some pickups in your deeper leagues that could end up making a difference down the line. Noah Brown, showing that, the Texans, I don't know what he's going to get paid, $3-4 million. He's worth it. He could become the second most targeted receiver in a Washington offense that is way better than we realize. Tim Patrick, what were we just saying? If they can play and they're part of a good offense, you add them to the end of your bench and you see what happens. Patrick, Josh Reynolds, Cecil, you've got to watch them both. Who's better?
Tim Patrick.
Yeah. So whatever Josh Reynolds did, Tim Patrick can do more. And if Amon-Ra St. Brown goes down, if Jamison Williams goes down, now you're really talking. Gabe Davis, I mean, maybe there's something there catching the 2 garbage time touchdowns. Bub Means is we get to talk about. There's Seaside was a Syracuse fan once I became a Syracuse student, but before that I was a Pitt fan. Bub Means catching that touchdown from Spencer Rattler. Chris Olave likely to be out, so if you need an emergency play, Patrick Surtain's also probably going to be out. So Bub Means could have a coming out party on Thursday night, maybe even in your lineup.
Yeah, to the tight end position we go, and that means Cole Kmet. And again, just kind of like the Drake Maye, Demario Douglas thing, we're talking about Caleb. He's already on your rosters, but Cole Kmet might be out there based on your research, Bloom.
Yeah.
Let's talk about him.
And he might be out there because he's going into a bye, or maybe he'll be out there after his bye. You see the 2 touchdowns, and we saw Justin Fields zero in on Kmet as a target in the red zone. It would make sense, Cease. Who's the tallest, biggest target on the team? That's Cole Kmet catching those 2 touchdowns. And with Caleb Williams dealing, and you see now this Bears offense, they can control the game, they can establish the run, and still put up big numbers in the passing game. So it's a new age in the Bears offense, and Cole Kmet is a carryover from the bad old offense, but he's bringing those new numbers in and worth carrying through the bye.
Everyone's looking for tight end help, and that's why Grant Calcaterra is on your list, and maybe some others, Bloom.
Sure.
Lucas Kroll revenge game coming up Thursday night.
Speaking of them, Pitt Panthers, nice win at NC State for Pitt. Calcaterra, and we've talked about this before, it's good to know backstories. It's good to know backstories in the NFL because it just adds richness to the experience when you're watching these players, when you're understanding. For instance, we were talking about Sean Tucker. He fell out of the draft because I believe a medical red flag about his heart. And now he's showing that he can play. Grant Calcaterra actually retired from football because of concussions. Before that, when he was at Oklahoma, he was considered, if not the best tight end prospect in his class, one of the best tight end prospects in his class. Now, with Dallas Goedert nursing a hamstring injury, we will probably get to see Calcaterra against the Giants this weekend. And I would say that Calcaterra, in the little bit we saw him, maybe not a guy you went out there as a blocker, but as a receiver, as a seam ripper, he can still do those things he was doing back at Oklahoma when he was such a highly touted draft prospect. David Njoku, well, he runs routes in the range that Deshaun Watson can actually complete passes to. So there's that. I think we would like David Njoku more if Jameis Winston will start. Probably not going to be this week. Kevin Stefanski, blink twice if everything's not okay. We'll send help. So David Njoku, now that he's back over that knee injury he had in his first week back, Zach Ertz, I like Calcaterra. If you want a 1 week play, Zach Ertz has some juice. He's getting downfield. Washington plays Carolina. You want a 1 week pickup to replace Jake Ferguson or Cole Kmet? 2 tight ends on bye. Zach Ertz could be that guy. Or maybe on their side of that matchup, Jatavian Sanders. He had a career high in targets, career high in catches, career high in receiving yards. So if you don't have a backup tight end, you need to get someone off of the waiver wire. Sanders could be the answer.
And I love the fact that we're now hearing reports, I think it was from the Raiders side, of like the Commanders were offered 3 first-round picks by more than just the Raiders for Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
And they said no.
Right.
Yeah. Where's that juice coming from? From Jaden.
Yes. Well, and it's what's exciting, Cease, as we go off into a non-waiver wire topic, but I love this stuff. And my man, Uncle Chaps, out there, we're vibing. Quarterback wins are real. Quarterback wins are a real stat. And Cease, notice how many people who are pure analytics people posting the stats about how much the Washington offense has improved or how much EPA Jaden Daniels adds per play. Washington is a legitimate team because of their quarterback, and that's it. That's why. Not every quarterback is responsible for quarterback wins, but a quarterback like Jaden Daniels will show you that the most influential player on the team over the win-loss record is the quarterback. And when it's a quarterback like Jaden Daniels, it's beautiful to watch.
It is a beautiful thing to watch. I am highly unprepared for this recording, Bloom. because I didn't grab any water. So I'm going to have to be
Uh-oh.
very careful not to blow up my voice in this next segment, but we need your help. Maybe I'll whisper and you all shout
Yeah.
out there for me.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll just shout and deal with it anyway.
Maybe this is ASMR, Cease. Maybe
Ah,
you
right,
need to calm down your insides. You need to
right.
find something that will make you feel better in a chaotic world, unpredictable world. How can you
Yes.
take control when the world wants to wrest control away from you?
Right. How do you do it? You bring it back with a little thing that we like to do every single week on this show. So, what you need to do is say it with us as we scream, whisper, whatever to the heavens. Cue the Chuck D. It's different, right, Bloom? It's a different
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, well,
Who are some of your week 7 shut 'em downs?
yeah, we're going to shut him. Calvin Ridley. I'm not necessarily dropping Calvin Ridley for Gabe Davis or Bub Means. Might drop him for Noah Brown or Tim Patrick.
I would
This
definitely
is
drop him for Tim Patrick.
Yeah, this is a classic sabotage drop because if Mason Rudolph takes over, maybe there could be signs of life for Calvin Ridley. He is getting the targets, but do you want to ride this roller coaster? Do you really want to click the check mark, seeing what we've seen? 2 catches in 3 weeks for Calvin Ridley. Javonte Williams, see, the split is only going to go towards Audric Estimate at this point after the fumble, or do you think that was just a 1 week aberration? And on Thursday night, we'll see a lot of Javonte Williams because the Saints can't tackle. So,
Yeah.
what advice do you have?
Jamonte's for the next section. I want one more game, especially on the short
Okay,
week. Now, I think that Javonte could be the Samaje eventually because he's so trusted in pass protection, and Estimate could take over carrying the ball, but we're maybe a couple weeks away from that.
yeah. So maybe we hold off on Javonte Williams. We don't hold off on Jerome Ford. Nick Chubb's going to be back. Ford has a hamstring injury. Christian Kirk is another one, kind of like Ridley. The Jags are a bizarro discount version of, say, Detroit, San Francisco, Chicago, where you only are going to see 2 at most of these passing game pieces hit in any given week. Whenever Brian Thomas Jr. can actually hold on to touchdown passes, I think he's more likely to be the guy who bounces back than Christian Kirk. It's clear that Trevor Lawrence likes Evan Ingram in the middle of the field. So Christian Kirk is another guy. It might seem strange to drop him. Maybe there'll be some big games for him before the end of the season. Good luck timing them when it's time to set your lineup.
Good luck holding on to some of these players like Javante Bloom, who are some others here in week 7.
Tucker Kraft, I know Ben Sims, 2 tight end offense was a little bit disappointing to see Ben Sims having a bigger stat line than Tucker Kraft, but we know Tucker Kraft can play. We know that the Packers only really had to pass for 1/2 against Arizona. We know they're probably going to have to pass for longer than that against the Texans. We also have seen that Kraft can add value to his targets, something very few tight ends can do, and that he's trusted by Jordan Love. So don't move on from him. I would not move on from Jordan Mason yet. Now, look, if someone said the only way I can pick up Tyler Algier is to drop Jordan Mason, the only way I can pick up JuJu Smith-Schuster is dropping Jordan Mason. Because we are looking at a potential situation here where Mason, if he misses week 7 and week 8, then if Christian McCaffrey's back in week 10, we may not be able to confidently start Jordan Mason for the rest of the year. But until Christian McCaffrey is back out there and playing, and then the next week we don't see him on the injury report, I'm not dropping Jordan Mason.
That is correct. We are here for you. Sigmund's been even checking in from the void.
Always.
So there you have
I'm
it.
always from the
There you
void.
have it.
It was just, I feel like our audience is ready to see the truth, Cease.
The unveiling, right? We're all in the ether and collected consciousness with each other. Let's get crunchy, Bloom.
Yeah.
Actually, I have to reverse of getting crunchy. I have to go take a shower. Anyway,
Yeah.
he's Sigmund Bloom. There's a mental picture some of you may not want, some of you may. I don't know. We welcome all. We welcome everybody. He's Sigmund Bloom. You follow him on Twitter, X at Sigmund Bloom. Want you to help the show? Please like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. Also, get the full report, upgrades, downgrades, waiver wire report at footballguys.com. That's how you subscribe. That's how you support the show. Subscribe to footballguys.com. We appreciate you for that. He's Sigmund Bloom. I'm Cecil Lammey. We are the Audible. watch these other videos floating around our faces yet. As always, stay tuned. And would you please go ahead and stay frosty?